same. Well, get ready, Richmond. Tonight, a different breed of speed's in town, and they're going to tear it up. 40 miles an hour faster and 1,500 pounds lighter than their NASCAR counterparts, with action so close you can barely slip a ticket stub between the tires. In the IRL, crossing the line can be costly, but taking it to the edge can pay off big time. Give these open-wheel warriors an inch and they'll take a mile. Give them a mile and they'll take their machines within an inch of disaster without blinking an eye. If the cars were this close on super speedways, wait until you shrink the surroundings. Tonight, under the lights in Richmond, the Indy cars will tear it up. Firestone pre-race show of all the tracks in the IRL. Richmond is without question the toughest. 5Gs jamming you down in the cockpit. High heat, humidity. Adrian Fernandez says it's tough to breathe. Here's a comparison. 2 weeks ago, we were at Texas, where the IRL is 21 miles an hour faster than Cup. Here at Richmond, well, forget 168. The new track record is 171 miles an hour. 41 miles an hour faster than Cup. Here's Scott Goodyear.
Thanks, Paul. You know what a difference a year makes. Last year, these guys would come into the turn at Richmond International Raceway, ease off the throttle, get on the brakes, and then get back on the gas all the way through the turn. This year, Elio Castroneves said in qualifying, you know something, I think I was flat, 171 miles an hour. Responsibility comes from a fresh pavement all the way around this 3/4 mile racetrack. 5 Gs these guys are seeing in the turns. Think about that. 250 laps around here tonight. These guys are going to get beat up. The temperature is high, and these guys have to be able to be on top of it without any mistakes. Now, we're going to shoot off to Dr. Jerry Punch, who's with our outside pole sitter, Buddy Rice.
Buddy Rice roared in the 2004 as a replacement driver for the injured Kenny Brett, and quickly proved its worth by earning the very first IRL IndyCar pole for owner Bobby Rahal in the season opener at Miami. At Indianapolis, Rice dominated early on in the month of May by capturing both the pit stop competition and the pole for the greatest spectacle in racing. Then on race day, with boss David Letterman looking on, he showcased his daring and aggressive style en route to his very first Indianapolis 500 victory. At Texas, his bid to win 2 in a row looked promising, but ended abruptly in a late lap after this contact with Darren Manning forced him to step aside with a bruised spirit and broken half shaft. Well, for the 4th time in 6 starts this year, Buddy Rice will start his Rahal Letterman car from the front row. And front row Rice sounds pretty good to me, I think.
Yeah, it sounds really good. I mean, I think...
We're going to go up to driver introductions. We'll go right with Buddy here as he goes out on the stage, and you'll get to see up close and personal what it's like to be introduced as an IRL IndyCar driver.
Will be behind the wheel of that Rahal Letterman Racing Pioneer Argent car number 15. He hails from Phoenix.
And we will ride out there, and Buddy Rice, the Indy 500 winner, being introduced as we go. He will wave to the crowd, and we will walk right down here with him. It's live TV, folks, as he gets his photograph taken and waves to this crowd, the largest crowd in the history of this racetrack to see an IRL race. And Buddy, I got to ask you, we saw where light contact at Texas cost you a chance at victory. How difficult is it tonight to avoid even light contact when you're in traffic on a tight oval like this?
It's going to be the same thing as Texas. It won't be quite as big of a pack. We'll be strung out a little bit more, but same thing. If any kind of contact happens, it's going to be bad for everyone. So we're just going to see what we can do and try to stay out of trouble and make it to the end tonight.
Hey, good luck tonight.
Thank you.
Buddy Rice trying to get his 2nd win of the year.
Defending IndyCar Series champion Scott Dixon started the season with a bang in Miami, but not a good one. He retired early and finished in the 18th spot. He did come back to recover in Phoenix, nipping all day at Tony Kanaan's heels, but could only manage a 2nd place finish. A scary moment in Motegi during practice left Scott Dixon dinged up but determined. He came back from the crash house, made a start, and finished in the 5th spot. At Indy, Dixon was strong and consistent, and he earned an 8th place at the end. And in Texas 2 weeks ago, some late race pit lane acrobatics held him back in the 14th place at the finish. And he sits now in 6th place in IRL points. And Scott Dixon will be starting from the 6th position in tonight's race. Now, Scott, back down under, when you started life, your parents owned a racetrack. It was kind of small, smaller than Richmond, but you don't remember much about that dirt track, do you?
No, definitely not. You know, I was probably about 4 or 5, I think. But I remember cleaning up around the track and things like that, and watching the races, of course, with my father and things like that. But those are good days. But unfortunately, you know, you don't ever really remember much of it.
Now, you remember a lot about last year here at Richmond because you literally just decimated the field, leading pole to checker, or at least to the red checker with the rain. Can you do the same thing tonight with this target car?
I don't know. It didn't seem to start off as well this weekend. You know, I think even in preseason practice here in Richmond, we led every session from the get-go, even the practice during the race. And, you know, we struggled a little this start of this weekend just because we didn't roll off as good as we should have. But, you know, Darren's done a great job with the team. And, you know, we're still in a fairly good position. I'm sure we can get up there and maybe not as lead as many laps, but all we need to lead is the last one, right?
Jamie, the last time when this guy was racing when he was 13, every time he'd win, he'd go watch cartoons. I don't think there's any cartoons playing tonight when this race is over.
29-year-old Darren Manning's got the English charm, but once he gets in the race car, you better get out of his way. He may be a rookie in the IRL IndyCar Series, but he's a veteran behind the wheel. Charming, yes, but his take-no-prisoners approach has angered a few competitors. The guy who calls himself Danger Mouse isn't afraid to take risks and search for high rewards. His aggressive style has put him 5th in points, ahead of teammate and defending series champion Scott Dixon. After finishing 8th place in Texas 2 weeks ago, Manning comes to Richmond with an eye on the prize and a target on his chest. And Darren Manning starting off the day on top. You guys have to be so happy right now. Last practice, you guys finished on the top of the speed charts. But with that said, Darren, you come from a road race background. How is that going to affect your performance tonight?
Well, I think it's actually going to help. You know, the guys all said, you know, Scott was telling me all before the season started, this was the race track that's going to be most like a road course for us. And it has been really, you know. It's pretty special. You just don't stop anywhere around the track. You know, the high banking and just short oval here, 3/4 mile. Just no chance to rest, and hopefully a little bit of that experience is going to help me.
Well, Darren, it's no secret that you've ruffled a few feathers this year. What is your take on other drivers' complaints about you?
Well, they haven't complained to me, so that's at least one thing. You know, just stay out of my way. Like, that's the main message. Maybe they'll see me behind in their mirrors and they'll move over for me. So no, I mean I'm a racer. You know, I'm going forwards in these races. You know, we haven't qualified as high up as we wanted to do all this year, but that'll soon get better. And you know, I'm going forwards.
All right, Paulie, sending a clear message. You better stay out of number 10's way.
Well, we're up here in the hub of IRL Race Control, where they keep track of everything that goes on in the race itself. And, of course, Brian Barnhart is the senior official. Brian, right now there's a lot of apprehensive drivers down there, but there may be more apprehension up here with you.
Well, this is a tough little racetrack for everybody, from the competitors all the way up to the officials. Things happen very quickly with 16-second laps, and you got to be on your toes and respond quickly and make good decisions in a rapid thought process. You know, so it's kind of a long night for everybody.
Yeah, that's a good smooth answer. How about your pulse rate right now? Is it going?
It's probably up there pretty good, but probably not near as close as the guys in the cars. You know, they're going to be out there doing a lot of short track bull ring type of racing, and this is going to be a good venue for us. This is our 4th visit here. We've had 3 good races. Looking forward to another one. Starting a really important stretch run here. We're on track about 8 of the next 10 weeks, and those next 2 months are going to go a long way to deciding the champion.
Well, we look forward to a nice, clean race tonight. Thanks a lot. When we come back, we're going to be meeting with Sam Hornish, the winningest driver in the IRL, and Alex Barron, who ran from 22nd to 2nd at Texas, and, of course, the points leader, Tony Kanaan. He's not starting that good tonight. IRL coverage is brought to you by Suntrust. How can Suntrust help you? By Firestone Tires. For more information on Firestone Tires, visit your local Firestone retailer. And Target. Expect more, pay less. Well, we move closer and closer to the start of the Suntrust Indy Challenge. We've been meeting some of the key drivers in the starting field. Next in line is Sam Hornish Jr.
When two-time IRL champion Sam Hornish joined Helio Castroneves over at Team Penske this year, many were thinking dynasty. It became a fact, in fact, at the Homestead Miami Speedway, where running close together late in the race, an inside pass gives Sam Hornish Jr. his first Penske victory. But the following races weren't kind to Hornish. Finishes a 15th at Phoenix, 19th in Japan, and 26th at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Then, 2 weeks ago at Texas, Hornish was fortunate to finish 4th despite this brush with the wall. So far, it's not been the season that Sam had been hoping for. Well, Sam Hornish, at least one thing has been consistent, really, really good race cars.
Yeah, we've been able to be up towards the front all year long. I mean, we won the first race. We were running second when we had a problem, and led almost everywhere we went so far. So, the Marble Team Penske guys have been putting some good cars underneath me. It's just been a problem of luck so far this year. We've got caught in the wrong place at the wrong time quite a few times.
Jerry, one thing that this guy likes is the high side, and here at Richmond, that could be the side that takes you to victory lane.
Known for his talent and tenacity, Tony Kanaan took his teammates and the competition to task at Phoenix as he dominated the day at the Jewel in the Desert to capture win number 1 on the season. Weeks later, along with winning teammate Dan Weldon, he celebrated the Honda hat trick at Martegi. At Indianapolis, it was all about the concentration, the massive crowds, and yes, the critical pass. And then when the rains came, the close call to Buddy Rice on that final trip across the yard of bricks. At Texas, fans were treated to a dazzling duel on the high banks with Dario. But when the checkered waved, he was the lone star standing in victory lane. Fresh off his second win of the year at Texas, Tony Kanaan enters Richmond as the IRL IndyCar points leader. And Tony, what's the key to surviving 250 laps on a tight oval like Richmond here tonight?
Having a good handling car and stay on the lead lap. It's a short track. It's going to be a hard night for us for sure.
Is it too early to look at the big picture in terms of championship, or do you even think about something like that when you take a chance to take a pass on the outside?
Well, of course we do think about it, but I'm not taking it any easy. I'm starting 10th. It's a tough position to be, so I'm going to give them hell. I mean, I'm going to try my best to finish in the top 5 because obviously I'm thinking about the championship. It's going to be a long night.
A lot of people pulling for you.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I want to say hi to Andrea. I know she got out of the hospital. She walked out of the hospital and she's watching. So, Andrea, keep that lucky charm because I'm going to need it tonight. So I was very happy. You made my day for sure.
Tony Kanaan starts 10th.
All-American SoCal driver Alex Barron leads the series in positions gained, but it didn't start that way. Barron kicked off the season on the front row at Miami, but was punted into the wall and finished 16th. At Phoenix, he started 17th and finished 4th, earning high praise from his boss, Eddie Cheever, a former Indy 500 winner. Indianapolis proved to be bittersweet for the Red Bull Cheever driver, who crashed in qualifying but rallied back to finish 12th. In Texas, Barron proved once again that starting in the back isn't so bad. He picked off his competition one at a time, passing 19 cars en route to a third-place finish, his first podium of the year. Well, he's gained 54 positions already this season, but Alex, we're here at Richmond. What does it take to prepare for such a physically demanding track?
Well, I just think you have to have a really good setup on the car to last for a full fuel stand. It's probably going to go like 100 laps on a fuel stand here. So if you go green for a long time, just got to keep the car underneath you, and restarts are really important here. And pit position at the end of the race, we're lucky to be in front of the grid here, and hopefully that'll help us out.
Well, you come from a shifter kart background. How is that experience going to help you here tonight?
Well, I would say most of it is just because stuff happens so fast, and shifter kart, it's the same. The reflexes play a big part, and there's a lot of things going to be going on in the restarts and the start of this race. So, the faster you can move around and gain positions, the better you're going to be off at the end.
Good luck tonight.
Thank you.
All right, Paul, one thing's certain, it's going to be a battle of the fittest.
Alex Barron, who had a great run at Texas. Fans looking forward to another one. When we come back, widely different driving styles. The high line and then the very high line. Brian Barnhart alluded to it earlier, and we've got a bunch of races coming up here in the next few weeks. Matter of fact, 8 of the next 10 weeks, we've got something going on. Next week, of course, in Kansas City, and coverage will come on ABC Sports. So make sure you join us for the fine series. Now, up in the grandstands, here's Jamie Little.
Well, Paul, we're in Richmond, Virginia, home of the die-hard race fans. I found a few fans here. How many races have you been to at this track?
I've been to about every year, about twice a year, all the time.
But never an IndyCar race?
First time IndyCar race.
How about you? Have you seen IndyCars before?
Last year was the first time. It was real exciting. The cars were fast, a lot better than faster than the Cup cars.
And how about you? Do you have any idea how much faster the Indy cars go than stock cars here?
I know they go a lot faster. It's a whole lot of fun to watch these and then come watch NASCAR race.
It's about 40 miles per hour faster. And you know, Paul, we're going to do a little changing of the fan here. Gentlemen, I need to take your hats for a moment. You are now official fans of the IRL IndyCar Series. There's a hat for you, sir.
Thank you.
Paul, you know, we're converting fans one by one.
Yeah, and I'm nice to see some guys with my haircut here as well. Well, here is the track at Richmond, and it's tiny. 3/4 of a mile around, Scott.
Paul, the neat thing that's about this track is the new pavement that we talked about earlier. Smooth, and watch for these guys probably running 2 or 3 lines very quickly. I would say the high line, look for Sam Hornish up there real high throughout the race.
So that'll be the challenge for tonight in the Suntrust Indy Challenge. Track record set here, 171 miles an hour. Let's take a look at the starting field with Elio Castroneves, the guy who set that track record. His 5th career pole, broke the track record by 2.5 miles an hour. Buddy Rice will be outside. It's the 4th front row start of the year for the Indy 500 winner. Back in row number 2, Mark Taylor, the best starting position for a rookie this season and the fastest Chevy. Sam Hornish is alongside. He won here in 2002, starting from the 2nd row. In row 3, there's Thomas Schechter, number 4. The car has never finished worse than 4th in this race. And Scott Dixon, his most recent win, came here a year ago. He led every lap. In row 4, Brian Herta, the first time this year that Herta is the fastest of the Andretti Green team. And Vitor Mira comes off back-to-back 6th-place finishes. In row 5, it's Tora Takagi. Tora has 4 top 10 finishes in 5 races this season. And Tony Kanaan, the points leader, only started this deep in the field 4 times in his career. Darren Manning is in row 6. And alongside Dario Franchitti, coming off of his best career finish, a 2nd at Texas. In row 7, Koski Matsura, who led his first laps in the Indy cars at Texas. And Ed Carpenter on the outside of the 7th row. 8th row, Alex Barron, coming off that impressive finish at Texas. And Adrian Fernandez. He's finished progressively better in all 4 of his starts. Scott Sharp is inside 9. His best finish at Richmond, a 5th. And Felipe Giaffoni, best finish, a 3rd. In row 10, Greg Ray, who posted his best finish of the year at his home track in Texas. And Dan Weldon on the outside. And in the 11th and final row, A.J. Foyt IV, Anthony, and Al Unser Jr. So that's the way they have qualified here for this run, which will be one of the toughest nights you'll find in IndyCar racing. So now the field has started, and they move around this track, and that takes care of our Firestone pre-race show as we get ready to go racing here in Richmond. Let's go down to Jerry Punt.
In the afternoon practice session, Buddy Rice was not very good. He was the 16th fastest car out of 22. They were hesitant to make any adjustments at all. The car had a serious understeer, had a significant push. They decided to wait and see what the car would do tonight. Now, a lot of people are pulling for Buddy Rice, including a guy standing in his pits whose place he is taking, Kenny Breck, here to watch Buddy Rice hopefully take the Ray Hall Letterman car to victory lane. Jack?
Jerry, conventional wisdom is that this will be a 2 pit stop race, but if you are Alex Barron, led by Max Jones, you may, and I say may, consider trying to make it a 1-stop race. How do you do that with 250 laps around this 3/4 mile oval? You'll hear, if you listen on the onboard radio, make mileage, make mileage, make mileage, and then they're hoping for, at least in the first stint, to get a minimum of 18 laps under caution. If they do that, they might, and I say might, guys, just roll the dice. to try to make this a one-stop race. That's one way to get to the front when you're starting back in 15th.
Well, the field begins to file up now and form behind the pace car, a truck really. Johnny Rutherford driving it. Let's take a look at that Chevrolet pace car from Chevy, an American Revolution. Already the front row has come into nice alignment, Scott Goodyear, and as we look toward this start, there are a couple of things we should be looking for.
Well, the key thing right now, Paul, is that they had a 100-lap Silver Crown race go here. A different type of rubber. Hoosier tires are on the racetrack right now. These guys are going to need a few laps putting down the Firestone rubber on top of that Hoosier rubber to get some grip.
As you can see, plenty of onboard cameras for us. Green flag is out, and here we go. Side by side, they head for turn one. And Castroneves pushes just a bit ahead of Buddy Rice. They got a big jump on the rest of the field. And already one lap gone. Castroneves leads it. Now Sam Hornish tries to move on the inside of Mark Taylor. Thomas Schechter comes up high. On board with Schechter.
Inside. Clear behind. Duck in.
Schechter certainly had a long road around there, Paul.
Looking. Inside. Clear behind him if you want.
Down on the inside, Dixon makes his move alongside of Schechter. Whoa, gets way high, and that's going to lose some time.
Now, we talked about that rubber that's on the racetrack, Paul. A lot of rubber up high. You have to wait for the course to get some rubber down.
Look at Kanaan as he comes cutting through the field.
Clear. Outside, on the rear.
Dixon and Schechter side by side again once Kanaan gets clear. Kanaan's now looking at Mark Taylor.
Kanaan started 10th, Paul. He's already up to 5th. Tells you right away that he likes his race car. Very confident with it right now.
There was some concern with Mark Taylor because the warm-up session wasn't very good at all for Mark. There you see back from his car, Tony Kanaan closing in. Tony made a try as they went into one on the last lap and then had to drop back.
I asked Mark just a little while ago, I said, is the car working just the way it did in qualifying? He says, I think so. I just can't get it to turn, though, but might make a change or two for the race.
Elio Castroneves continues to lead. In fact, there's a full second out in front. And believe me, a full second at this tiny place is a great distance. Onto the front stretch. You ride with the Pennzoil Panther.
And Paul, you talk about a front stretch, but it's not a straightaway at all. This is the only straight that we see that we're on right now. Turns 2 or turn 3, very short in distance.
Kanaan moves down onto the inside. And he's got him. So Kanaan. And here is Adrian Fernandez in 12th place now. Adrian now really, it's the start of his IRL career. And if you talk about being fit to be able to get through this race, here's one of the guys you'd really have to look at because he has a 3-hour regimen. Caution is on.
Mario's slow up ahead, just off the pace. Yellow flag.
Oh, and this looks like bad news.
55 got him.
Right rear, Paul, you can see right there contact with the wall. Front wing is also skewed. You can see the wheel on the right front is also.
Do you hear the radio transmission, though, that 55 got him? I think that's more a reference to a position than actually getting in contact with Alex. But boy, after such a great run at Texas, the 51 Red Bull car sits up against the wall, and its night appears to be over. So we've run down to the first yellow here at Richmond, and we'll be right back. This track was a half-mile dirt track called Strawberry Hill Speedway. The cars that ran back then were midgets, along with the big cars. The drivers of the time were the famous names that ran at Indianapolis. Here's how the track, then known as Richmond Fairgrounds Raceway, looked in September of '84, with the likes of Dale Earnhardt, Darrell Waltrip, and teammate Neil Bonnet running. In '88, Richard Petty, after the race, got a bulldozer to officially begin the reconstruction process, turning the half mile into the 3/4 miles of Richmond International Raceway as we see today. And it begins to shine like a jewel in the night as the lights come on and the sun goes down. Let's go to Jack Arute.
Well, coming off the big win at Texas Motor Speedway, a lot of people thought Tony Kanaan, the current point leader, would be loaded for bear, but in qualifying, they really didn't do as well as they had hoped. Kim Green calls the shots for the 7-Eleven crew. Between qualifying and now, what have you done to this 7-Eleven car? It's starting to move to the front.
Well, you know, it's been a tough weekend. Prior to qualifying, we had 60 miles on this new track surface because we didn't do an engine day test. So in the warm-up, we worked hard. Obviously, overnight, had a lot of time to think about how we had a qualifying car. And we made some great improvements in the warm-up. The car feels good, but it's obviously very early on.
What does he report, though? Is it good enough to get up there and duke it out for the lead right now?
Well, I don't know that we're going to be able to lead right now. I think there's some pretty tough opposition up front, but we're in a position where we want to be in touch with the leaders.
Kim Green calls the shots for Tony Kanaan, your current point leader. We'll have more from Richmond Raceway very shortly as we continue to cover the IRL IndyCar Series.
Defending 20-car winner at the Sears Craftsman NHRA Nationals, will be racing for his 4th victory of the season when the NHRA Powerade Series visits Gateway International Raceway for the 12th stop on the $50 million tour. You can catch 1 hour of qualifying tonight at 10 o'clock Eastern, and in 3 hours of elimination coverage Sunday at 9 o'clock Eastern. Jamie?
Well, this is what you don't want to see happen. Alex, just a few laps in, what happened?
We got bumped in turn 1. I think the 55 car bumped in the inside, put me in the wall. Really early in the race, really a shame because we had a really good car. I think we could have moved up a lot, so it's just a shame we couldn't get the Red Bull car up there.
Tough break. Paul?
Well, there is a correction then, because we did hear on the radio that the 55 got him, and that's exactly what they meant. Helio Castroneves leads the field down the backstretch, coming back to the green flag. There's Matsura, 55 car. Helio leads the 4th race of this year. First time he's led at Richmond. Green flag's out again. Now Hornish looks for his favorite line, the high line, and he gets up alongside of Buddy Rice. Here comes Schechter. He doesn't mind the high side either.
No, he's trying the same thing Sam is, Paul. Sam's able to carry the speed right to the center of the turn. There he goes, right around Rice.
And Sam Hornish moves into second behind his teammate Helio Castroneves. And now what will Schechter do? He certainly can see that that line works very well.
The key thing is now to get your car to work there. You use the inside cockpit adjustments for the anti-roll bar. And the weight jacker, here he goes.
And when Kanaan comes right back at him.
Still there, still inside, still inside.
So Schechter now gets past Kanaan and sets sights on Buddy Rice. But we have heard from most of the team the game here is to make fuel. So is Buddy Rice smart enough to do that early?
Well, you want to try and make some fuel mileage, but you want to stay in touch with the leaders right now. Plus, you have to be able to get through traffic. The key thing about this race, Paul, is be there at the end. Don't have the car damaged by bumping wings or something of that nature, and be ready to go for that sprint, which usually here is the last 20 or 30 laps.
2 Penske cars running together, though Hornish already taking a slight look to the outside of Helio Castroneves.
Well, you can see he's faster already. He carries more speed off the turns. He's already looking high, looking low.
Looking outside.
We're getting word now that they're going to give the 55 car, that's Koski Matsura, stop and go penalty. And it's too bad because for the first time in his IRL career, his whole family is here watching tonight.
Now, he had a good car in warm-up today. Paul was 4th quickest. And I asked him, I said, do you think you'd like to come to more of these tracks this size? He looked at me and he went, oh no, I don't think so.
As the leaders battle, Matsura on the pit road. That's in for the penalty. Can't do any work on the car. It's back into the fight.
Now, as quick as the laps are here, 15 or 16 seconds, he'll be very lucky if he does not lose a lap. Probably change his whole fuel strategy if that does happen.
And now for the first time they begin to look at traffic ahead. Al Unser Jr., who had a problem, they were reporting smoking on the car, came in, they took a look at it, and now he's back running, and he'll in all likelihood be the first car that they encounter.
And Paul, you asked me about fuel mileage. Al Unser Jr. and his team right now, they'll be working on a fuel mileage race. They do not have the speed. The key thing for them to do is try and make this on as least stops as possible.
Also pitting during that first caution was Dan Weldon. Of course, he wasn't in a great position to start with, so maybe it was a really good idea.
I asked him, and he said, you know, we just don't have a good understanding on the short oval tracks quite yet. Right now, we felt that we were going to have a good run here.
There's Helio Castroneves, two-time champion of the Indy 500. Pretty good boxer, according to him. And I'm not going to challenge him. On board with Scott Sharp. Sharp currently runs back in the field, 19th, and here come the leaders.
You can hear how gingerly he gets back on the throttle coming out of the turns. A large lift tells you the car's not working very well for him.
So now Hornish is able to close in again, as does Kanaan with Buddy Rice, because all of the leaders are working traffic. In front of Helio Castroneves is Greg Ray. And then Buddy Rice, well, now they go side by side again. Hornish using that outside line. And this time he's got him.
Carried the momentum out of turn 2.
And just behind this battle is Thomas Schechter. You saw his moves early on. That yellow number 4 car. And he comes through traffic as well. He just got around Scott Sharp. So we've had a lead change, and it's Sam Hornish that is now in front as they watch from the Panther pit to see how Schechter's doing in third. Castroneves now sits in second. He drives for this man. Back at the Suntrust Indy Challenge at Richmond International Raceway. I'm Paul Page with Scott Goodyear. You ride on board with third place Thomas Schechter, and there is his Firestone telemetry.
Look at the speed. Doesn't drop down very much in the turns, just down into the 130s. Remember, this is a 3/4 mile track, and these guys are turning speeds of 171 miles an hour in qualifying. Amazing. Throttle, you can see just over 100%. The lateral G's will build as he goes through the turn. Just up to around 4, over 4 in the middle of the turn. Watch your G's down to 1 going down the straightaway. Tire temperature, you can see right there, is working perfectly. That red arrow in the green, tire pressures and tire temperature is up.
Schechter works around Felipe Giafoni. And already 48 laps are complete. They're working 49. Now, part of the thinking was, and certainly, remember, as you see Weldon with Sam Hornish, the leader, coming up on him and in fact a whole group of cars, remember that Weldon stopped and refueled the car, got off the strategy during that first caution. I was going to say, though, that they thought about lap 50 that the rubber that was on the track from an earlier race would pretty well be neutralized, and then they'd really begin to pick up the pace.
Well, it certainly didn't take him that long, I don't think, Paul, and that was what Brian Barnhart said. Be very careful of the rubber that's out there, but the IRL team has done a great job on cleaning the track.
Boy, Schechter has been driving this car all over the place. Had to jump out of it with that correction. We'll go back and show you that one. Watch this.
Oh, just gets a little bit high. That dirty air from the cars that are up here in this area here. The air coming across the wings is not as plentiful as it is when he's by himself. And he was very lucky just not to get up into that gray area.
Sam Hornish now worked to the outside of Dan Weldon. Weldon comes down, splits to the inside of Takagi.
Now Weldon, Paul, right now sees these guys in the mirror. And he knows if they pass him, he's going to go down a lap. That's sort of that, you know, the objects in the mirror are bigger than they appear.
Yeah.
That's what he's seeing right now.
In this case, they're the leaders, and they're enormous.
What he's hoping for is a yellow, so he gets a chance for a pit stop, come in, make a few changes to the car, hopefully improve the car, and then get back out in the tail end of the group. Just 3 wide into 1.
Tony Kanaan and Buddy Rice as they continue to hammer at one another.
All the drivers will tell you that this track keeps you very busy. There's not a whole lot of time here to take a rest. The front stretch, as we mentioned, has a curve in it. The back stretch very short. Between turns 2 and 3, not a lot of time to rest. The heart rates here are very, very high for these drivers in this heat and humidity.
They're reading 5Gs. New track surface here. Nice and grippy, and so the G-force is just jamming them down in the cockpit. Fernandez looks to the inside of Mira.
Still there, you're clear. Good. You're awesome.
Now Herta taking a look at Mira. And Herta's got him. So Herta moves up into 8th place. Mira drops back. Here's Manning. So it makes you wonder what's going on with Mira.
Well, he's a driver right now that's on a race-to-race basis for the Ray Hall Letterman team. Certainly wants to put in a good effort every weekend. Are they thinking a little different fuel strategy? You never know. We'll have to wait to see how long he can stay out on this segment.
Or is he just being careful and really trying to learn traffic at this track?
Well, this track is different than anything the drivers will tell you they've ever driven on. Obviously very busy, as we were mentioning, but if the car's not working well, maybe he's just playing a smart program right now until he can get in during the first pit stop to make some changes to the car so it can become to his liking.
Rice and Kanaan. Kanaan currently in 4th place, back to the lead as Sam Hornish tries to look inside of Weldon again. The 62 laps are already come and gone in the Suntrust Indy Challenge. At Richmond International Raceway, I'm Paul Page with Scott Goodyear. Coverage of the IRL, the Indy Racing League, and we have a caution on the course. This is for debris, and you can see the Delphi safety team taking a very long look at the track. As long as they're out there for one problem, you might as well go ahead and check everything that you can. And why the debris? Well, there's a couple of possibilities. This is one of them. That's Brian Herta as he came by Dixon.
Watch the front wing right there. Just a little movement. Sometimes that side plate comes off the wing, and the IRL will send the team out to go and look to make sure it's not laying on the track.
Now the entire field is probably going to be on the pit road in the next few seconds, and in fact they are. Here's Jamie Little.
Thomas Schechter's coming in right now for new tires and fuel. He says he's happy with the setup right now. He qualified 5th, and right now he's sitting in 3rd.
Both Penske cars pitting at the midpoint of pit road. Hornish pitting in front of Schechter and Evans. Either one made an adjustment. They're headed down. Let's head down to Jackaroo.
And Jerry, it's an air pressure adjustment for Tony Kanaan, the 7-Eleven crew. They're towards the end of pit road. 16 cars roar by, as does the Pennzoil Panthers team. And then Tony Kanaan is out of the way.
So some shuffling of positions on the first stop of the day, and the stop coming at the 70th lap. So in theory, unless you get a lot of yellow, and it would have to be an awful lot of yellow, you're going to go to a second pit stop. What, probably just past the 200th lap?
Well, absolutely. And the thing now, everybody actually had to come in the time, Paul, because 68 laps into this program, you got to do it under yellow.
They are coming out of the pits. See Hornish as he just barely nips Helio Castroneves. Then a bit of a gap. Here comes Schechter. There's Kotsky Matsura, but remember, he'd be running down because of the penalty he was afforded. There goes Tony Kanaan. And Rice and Anthony Foyt.
Now that line's very important, Paul, because whoever goes across that line first, and there's an electronic sensor in all the cars and the track, the IRL knows instantaneously who was the car that led going over the line. Very important to reline the cars up for the next restart.
They're doing a long check for debris along the backstretch. In fact, they're back there working in the same area that Alex Barron had his problem earlier. Think about these guys. During the race, do their heart rates go higher at the start or when they're running in traffic, during a pit stop?
All of the above at this place here.
And under yellow back at Richmond International Raceway, Sam Horn is just leading after the pit stops. And we asked Dr. Jerry what part of the race produces the highest heart rate among the drivers. Doctors have told you for years that stress, exercise, and anxiety will elevate your heart rate. Is it when they start the engines, when they start the race, the first 5 or 10 laps? How about when you're racing at speed or the final laps? Or how about the pit stop? What do you think at home? When do you think the driver's heart rate is the highest? Well, thanks to Dr. Henry Bach, who's the chief medical official for the Indy Racing League, we now know because some of the drivers have worn telemetry. We will show you. Take a look. The heart rate up over 125 to 130 when the green flag waves. Now, once a race action begins, the guys settle down about 105 to 110. When the yellow flag comes out, look at the heart rate. It goes all the way up over 145 because of the pit stop. And why, when you ask a driver, it's because during the race, I can control my own destiny. But when a pit stop happens, so much can happen on pit road, which is outside of my control, thus the anxiety, thus the stress, and thus the elevated heart rate. Thank you, Dr. Bach, for sharing that with us and showing you these guys are indeed athletes because they have to endure a lot here at these speeds.
And thank you, Dr. Jerry. We'll have a question from Richmond here in a moment. Sunday night, crosstown rivals meet an interleague clash as A-Rod and the New York Yankees host Mike Piazza and the New York Mets. Sunday night baseball on ESPN. Coverage begins with the day's major league highlights on Baseball Tonight, driven by GMC at 7 Eastern. Green flag is out. And now Schechter, where he can see the leaders just ahead of him, but he's got a space. That's Koski Matsura behind him, 1 lap off the pace. So he's got a little protection from Kanaan. Further back there, you see Kanaan. You saw Buddy Rice kind of swing to the outside and let Kanaan know he's there. Hornish, Castroneves, Schechter. Then you see Koski. And Kanaan and Buddy Rice. And look behind Rice, Adrian Fernandez. He started down in 16th place. Kanaan and Rice go side by side.
Now, in this situation, Paul, maybe some changes are made to the car. I think we heard that Kanaan had some air pressure adjustments made. Is he sacrificing the first few laps, waiting for the tire pressures to come up before he'll get the car that he wants? Or did they maybe go just a little bit too far and the car is not reacting the way that he wants?
Anthony Foyt, AJ the 4th, started 21st, up 6 positions, down 15. And a couple of cars that are really running down on the fuel tanks now belong to Weldon and to Greg Ray. They're 13th and 14th respectively, and they're 70 laps out from their last stop. Almost everybody else is only 14 laps out, Jack.
Scott Goodyear, you ask, and we run around here to get your answers. You were surmising what might be taking place with the 7-Eleven car. Well, you're absolutely right. They're waiting for the Firestones to come up to temperature and therefore up to optimum pressure. Right now, it's cruise along for about 5 or 6 more laps. Kim Green tells me then Tony Kanaan will be able to drop the hammer yet again.
Ray as he battles with Scott Sharp. Ray, the only man in racing brave enough to run number 13. Manning and Herta battled for 7th.
The car on that low side always ends up being pushed up just a little bit. Herta's lost some momentum.
Rev limiter a bit there.
Good job, buddy. Great job.
Absolutely. Didn't want to take the chance to work on the upshift. because he needed that lower gear to pull him out of the turn once he gets in the middle of the turn and out. As we ride along here, let's watch the steering. These guys are actually really moving the steering wheel a fair amount through the turn. Watch the hand movement. And watch to see if the right hand goes for a gear shift. Right there. This is a busy part of the racetrack right now, Paul.
From the top of the roll bar, there goes Herta reaching down for the gear shift. You really don't want to fall off the pace here. Herta inside of Felipe Giafone.
Looks like they've made some changes to Brian's car during that last pit stop because he's able to go inside, outside, very confident with his car. He just sort of moves it along the racetrack.
Well, if that was Herta's radio, talking about traction control on the car, which on a place like this is critical. It actually contributes to how you're able to corner here.
Well, you think about with all the horsepower these guys have, putting the power back down in the middle of the turn around these tight radius turns. Traction control is very instant, but the one thing that I sort of sense from his radio transmission, Paul, I think his heart rate's up.
Yeah, it sounded like it. Brian Herta loves the fish, like you, a hockey fan, Scott. But let's talk about that traction control. They actually have some redundancy on the cars. They can switch wheel sensors. Traction control is determined by the wheel sensors relation front to back, and they can switch those around a little bit.
Well, and the driver also has the opportunity to turn the system off, usually inside the cockpit. So with that situation said, if there is a problem with the system in the race, at least we can go back to what we used to call just driving the car with your right foot, squeezing the throttle, coming out of the turn, and making sure your right foot is traction control.
Good driver. Is he faster than the computers in the traction control?
Not today.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
So how long is it before all you guys are standing up on top of the grandstand with a bunch of RC controllers?
Well, I have noticed that a lot of these guys like video games, so they probably see the writing on the wall coming up here very shortly.
Hornish, Castroneves, Penske 1 and 2. Here's Darren Manning. A little bit earlier, last lap actually, he was running alongside of Fernandez. Going high on him.
See, now, interesting thing, you can see the right front tire of Fernandez. He was just turned and not getting any grip, slid up into Manning.
Tora Takagi has just come into the pits. The unscheduled, we're still waiting to see when Greg Ray heads pit side, or for that matter, Dan Weldon. They're both 87 laps out since their last stop. While Hornish, Castroneves in the front of the field stopped 32 laps ago. 102 laps are complete, and we've seen a lot of action thus far. Let's take a little bit of look at it. Yeah, look who's involved in most of these, too. That's some racing. We'll be back to Richmond right after this.
A side-by-side battle up front, but the guy that's the fastest is Brian Herta in the XM satellite radio car. No traction control problems. I repeat, I checked with the crew. Zero traction control problems for Brian Herta. In fact, they made a tire pressure adjustment, guys, on the Firestone Firehawks, and he's flying.
And as you take a look from Herta's car, yellow flag comes out. And it's a debris yellow once again. And now our understanding is that maybe it's the 10 car of Manning who has a traction control issue as well. So we'll try and research that one out and see what we come up with. First and second remains the same as on the 111th lap. We come into this caution section. Hornish, Castroneves, Schechter, 1, 2, 3. And though there's been a lot of battling, most of it has been behind those guys, but they've had to thread their way through the field. Let's take a look at some shots from Darren Manning's car. That's with Herta earlier, and it's not the first time that we've actually seen that kind of shot. In fact, we are now referring to Manning as the master of the near miss. He's been really good at it. Here's Jack Arute.
I want to show you a compilation of, I guess you could call it close calls.
I'm nervous.
You all right? You going to be okay here?
I haven't seen any of this. I normally have my eyes closed when this is going on anyway, so let's take a look.
Where's the edge? When do you fall? Have you fallen off the edge?
No, I don't think so. I mean, you know, you're told in driver's briefing, hold your line racing. I was on the inside. I was up the inside of Buddy. You know, he said both his spotter and his team manager were keyed up at the same time, so he didn't know I was there. So if he knew I was there, we would have gone through there side by side and had a maybe battle for the lead. It's all about that decision making, that split-second decision making to make the right call. I'm not dangerous, you know. I'm just racing. I'm just trying to get to the front and trying to get past these people. I want to win probably more than anybody else. I've gone through probably more than anybody else, no matter what anybody says about selling houses and all this kind of stuff. And, you know, trust me, I've gone through a lot more than everybody else, and I probably want it more than anybody else.
And while Jack was visiting with Darren Manning, you ride on board his car, a good portion of the field took advantage of this yellow to head into the pits. No major occurrences during the stops, though. Nice and smooth for everybody. But what it will succeed in doing is putting Dario Franchitti and Ed Carpenter up at the front of the field. And part of the reason for that is that they decided not to stop. They are, after all, only 44 laps since the last time they were in, and the best guess is you can go well over 100.
Well, they probably, like you say, Paul, do not have a situation where they're going to end up having a fast race car. They know that. They're betting on the gamble right now, haven't used maybe half their fuel, so what they're going to bet, get another yellow here before it's time to come in for fuel because of the yellow cautions that have been coming out so far. A small track like this, you really know that you breed cautions once you have a caution. Brian Barnhart has said that many times, and as we're chatting, Paul, I see a couple of raindrops landing on our window here inside the booth.
Hush your mouth.
I'm telling you.
Remember the downpour that we have had here in the past. Jerry Punch.
Checking on the pit stops here in the Penske pit. Both Sam Hornish and Helio Castroneves complaining of the same problem. They have a bit of an understeer. The car pushing as it comes up off of turn 2. Roger Penske made the decision not to make a change on the Sam Hornish car. Said, Sam, use the weight jacker. We're going to put 4 tires, and that's all. Castroneves wanted a front wing change. They called that off and made no changes whatsoever on the 3 or the 6 for their pit stop. Let's check in further up pit road with Jack Arute.
Well, Jerry, the 3 Andretti green cars that did pit all had nominal pit stops, except for Dan Weldon. During the pit stop, all of a sudden, one of the wheel nuts started rolling down pit road as Weldon pulled away. There were several moments where people weren't sure if the wheel was secured or not, and they checked with the guy changing that rear tire. He said, I put a spare one on. If you want to take a look at a silhouette that may look familiar, this is the next Andretti that most likely will find his way to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Marco Andretti already running. And Marco, I understand that this afternoon you got to use Tony Kanaan's car for pit practice.
Yeah, they let me sit in it and just hold the brakes and, you know, so they could change the tires. It was pretty fun.
Well, that was the start, right? When do you get to fire it up and take it around?
Who knows? Hopefully soon, we'll see.
Hey, Paul, the one thing he doesn't want to tell you is it took 4 crew members to pry him out of the car as he was kicking and screaming, going, no, I want to stay, I want to stay.
Yeah, and how long before you offer him a ride in a Legends car, Jack? So we're under the caution, 118 laps complete. Franchitti and Carpenter at the top. Here is Castroneves' stop as he goes around Sam Hornish. Got out just seconds later, and Schechter comes flying up there as they go to the line that marks the end of the pit area, the blend line. And so that's a solid position for Schechter. Jamie Little?
The Pennzoil Panther team is very happy with their performances tonight in the pits. Although Thomas Schechter is complaining about Helio Castroneves. He says he's going high and then he's slowing down and he's blocking him, not letting him get around. You can imagine Pancho Carter's upstairs giving him an earful.
Well, Pancho Carter, who is USAC Sprint Car champion, pole sitter at the Indianapolis 500, sits up on his two-way radio and coaches the number 4 Pennzoil Panther car. You're on board with it right now, and that's probably the best coach that you can have, though Tom Sneva's been up there as well spotting. There's Pancho leaning it forward.
There's
Morris
Pancho
Nunn.
right there. Morris Nunn.
John Martin back there, who used to race in the Indy cars. So
you mentioned Tom Sneva, who's pitting and doing a situation right now for the Panther team also with Mark Taylor.
The sky overhead, there are some dark clouds, but there's also some blue sky, so we hope rain is not going to figure into the game here at Richmond. We'll be back right after this. This weekend, the PGA Tour on ABC features the Bose Allen Classic. Power hitter John Daly heads an impressive field in Potomac, Maryland. Coverage Sunday at 3 Eastern, noon Pacific on ABC Sports Championship Television. Well, the caution period has been extended just a bit as a result of the fact that Scott Goodyear saw some moisture on our booth, and apparently race control heard that. But as they come to the line, too, it will be the 125th lap complete, and that is an official race. Though, Scott, a few moments ago, we heard some radio conversation with Darren Manning, and they were saying that looking at the weather radar, as they all can, you know, I mean, you can do it off your cell phone now if you want to. This whatever is affecting the track at the moment is very light and should not stay.
And just giving the information to the drivers so they know sort of how to program themselves, because yes, after halfway the race is official. If it was to come down in buckets and you couldn't restart, then they might call the race. But still early in the evening, and clear blue skies are not very far away, and we got lights here, so we can go all night, I guess.
Can and will. Dario Franchitti, leader of the race under this caution, stayed out, been 56 laps since his last stop, but of course their mileage is terrific for them, about 11 miles a gallon when they're running around under the yellow. Michael Andretti, the team owner. And it's one of the new powerhouses in IRL racing. They have a shop on the northwest side of Indianapolis, Indiana, and Scott Goodyear went by for a visit this week. When you were there, find out any secrets?
Well, you know, a shop that's in good harmony. You know, you've been into lots of shops, and I've driven for teams that have actually had 2 cars with 2 drivers, and you walk into that facility and you're sort of overwhelmed with the massive size of it, and 4 drivers, so each driver has 2 cars, so there's 8 cars being worked on. They have 88 employees, about 70 go on the road each weekend. It's somewhat amazing just to see how that all works in harmony, and hats off to guys like Kim Green, Kyle Moyer, and all those guys that really put that program together in 16 races. And you think of how busy they are, and then we're getting to a situation now where we're getting into 8 races in 10 weeks. Those guys are always on the road.
And race control is still trying to figure out what to do about what is a very, very light rain, and maybe only affecting a small part of the track. And it's a small track to start with, 3/4 of a mile. Al Unser Jr., by the way, has come into the pits, into the Patrick pits, and climbed out of the car. Appears his day is done. Jerry Punch?
And Buddy Rice began this year, as we mentioned at the top of the show, subbing for this man, Kenny Breck. And it's great to see Kenny back at the racetrack. And Kenny, we know a week or so ago you came here with the Ray Hall Letterman team to test at Richmond. How did that test go?
Our test went very well. We ran very fast. We were quite close to what they qualified here, you know, so everything went well in the test.
You had both ankles operated on, your back, your neck, and you had some ribs involved in that injury at Texas. How did you evolve as far as physically coming out of the test with so many G's you pulled here in practice?
Well, this is the most physical track there is on the calendar, so that's why we wanted to go here and really test the condition of myself. But it came out pretty good, I think, but I don't feel racing ready yet. I don't feel like an athlete particularly in my ankles. They're a little sore. and I probably could do a race, but I don't know if I could whack them in the side of the cockpit and be happy with that, you know, in an accident. That's what I'm not sure of right now.
Well, we look forward to you coming back. Good to have you back here at the racetrack.
Thank you.
Kenny Breck, and the word is hopefully by the end of next month, he's not physically in shape to take the beating, particularly at a racetrack right here where you have over 5 Gs in turns 3 and 4. Guys, getting set for the restart.
Dario Franchitti already picks up the pace. The green flag is out, and Franchitti leads the field starting the 131st lap. Franchitti's car should be lighter than everyone behind him.
Run up by that car.
Pancho Carter.
Clear.
Whoa! Hang on to it. Oh, that'll be yellow.
Sorry, guys.
Doesn't take much, just a little bit of movement in the steering wheel, and these things are going for a ride. You just become a passenger, Paul.
Darren Manning, who has had more than his share of trouble, and it's going to be hard to find a funnier or more likable guy in the series. And it's just too bad that he's had this string of bad luck and brushes with the wall. That one, of course, is going to end the day. Is he going to try to get it around there?
Well, you know, he thinks that he might just make it back, and he maybe thinks he could get it fixed. But
okay, just look out the left front of your car there, Darren.
But he's a driver, Paul, and you sort of think that maybe the damage wasn't so bad and you might be able to get it repaired. I did that once and said, you know, I think it's just a couple of little things, and pulled in the pit box, and the guys started taking off their radios and sort of told you that they thought the day was done.
That's your first clue.
And he actually hit the safer barrier, the new safer barrier, the steel and foam energy reduction barrier that's been installed here by the people at Richmond International Raceway. Really helps cushion the blow instead of hitting a cement retaining wall.
Yeah, that's becoming popular everywhere. First tested at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Watch his
and developed
hands.
by them.
Back end started to come around on him just a little bit. He started to correct for it with his hand motions. Just ran out of room, and you can see the safer barrier that he's into right there.
Yeah, that's a very quick occurrence, isn't it? So Darren Manning out of the cockpit. You can see Jerry Punch is right there close by. So in just a moment, we'll be talking with him as they slow again under the caution. 134 laps complete. Franchitti still out in front. IRL coverage is brought to you by your neighborhood Ace Hardware, the helpful place. And Weber. Over 50 years of grilling passion goes into every grill we make. Well, they're still under caution here, and as promised, Jerry Punch awaits with Darren Manning.
And Darren Manning has climbed out of the Target Ganassi machine. And Darren, you had such a great run going here early on. What happened out here on the restart?
Yeah, just back markers. Scott Sharp's messing about, going. He just checked me and Sam up. Sam got out of it. He got a big sideways, and I was right behind Sam. And just got a big sideways and then pushed up into the marble. So just a shame, really. Team Target and Toyota were doing such a great job. We had probably the fastest car out there, you know. So just a shame the last few races are just finished this way, you know. Just you take some chances and you get other people making mistakes that cost you the race.
All right, Darren Manning out of it here. Let's go back upstairs to Paul.
Yeah, green flag's out again. Ed Carpenter came into the pits just before they went green. He was in second place. Regular stop for him. Franchitti leads it. That's Catherine Evis in second. Then Thomas Schechter, then Sam Hornick. Look back from Schechter to Hornick. Jack Arute.
Well, I checked on the status of the leader, Dario Franchitti, in the ARCA X car. Will they have to make another stop? As well, going to the inside. Sam Hornick just isn't able to pull it off. I checked, and Tony Kaufman told me, he says, I think we're going to have to make one last stop for a splash and go. But that was before that last extended pit stop. To the inside again goes Hornick.
Yeah, Hornish, who's known for the outside line, is going to make the inside work this time.
Clear. Clear by one.
So that gives Hornish third behind Franchitti and Catherine Evis.
And there's the tail right there. Once you get past, if you're able to pull away, you certainly are the faster car. And Hornish certainly was that.
last couple of laps, they've been running at 162, 163 miles an hour.
Schechter's car is very good for him right now, Paul. Smooth hand movement. Very comfortable with the car.
Back at the front. Red, blue, and white car. That, of course, is Franchitti. Comes to the inside to get around Takagi, put him another lap down. Takagi's actually 6 laps off the pace now. He hasn't had a good race since his crash in Japan.
And this racetrack here is much like Phoenix. It'd be very much like Milwaukee when we go visit that racetrack. If your car is not working for you, very difficult to try and make the car handle for you by putting more driver input into it and overdriving the car. It can just get you in trouble.
And that's Ed Carpenter that's just ahead now of Franchitti. Carpenter wants, of course, to stay on the lead lap. Everybody does. Carpenter is much heavier because he just stopped, but it looks like the Red Bull Cheever team trying to work out a little bit of strategy of their own. They fueled in a window that, given a couple more yellows or maybe even only one, might get them to the end of the race.
Well, just 9 laps on his tank full now, and they're betting for that, but he has to stay in the lead lap. He's hoping that all these guys that stayed on the track have to pit under green conditions, and if they do, then this bet will pay off for him.
Jack Arute.
Fellas, remember, Ed Carpenter in that Red Bull Cheever car is a teammate to Alex Barron. Alex Barron already had opted to at least try and make this on one stop, but he crashed early in the race. By my calculations, by making that stop, Ed Carpenter can go the distance, even without any more caution. But the problem is, it'll all be moot if that blue car to the right of your screen is able to put him a lap down.
Yeah, exactly. But at least at the moment, given those possibilities and a green racetrack to the end of the race, Carpenter is in a pretty good position. But, there it goes. But Franchitti gets around him. But Franchitti should be within 20, 25 laps from his next stop.
We just ran a lot of laps under that yellow caution. The drivers conserve fuel. They turn the fuel mileage right back, so the car runs very, very lean. Doesn't use much fuel under those yellow cautions, just gives you more fuel to use when you're going back to a green racing condition.
Once again on board Thomas Schechter, this time with the Firestone telemetry.
Watch the G loading here through the turns, 4.4. That's at this pace here. We saw these guys going over 5 Gs in the turns during qualifying. The tire temperature, that one that's right here, right in the green section right there. Tire temperature, tire pressure, just about perfect for him. You can see him get back on the throttle. 850 feet long straightaway in the back section here. Not very much at all. In the front straightaway that we're on right now,
Slow car high, go low, go low.
not even a straightaway. Basically about 1,290 feet along the front section, Paul, and you're always turning at this track, and that's what the drivers say. You're always very busy. It can really wear you out.
Franchitti in a good situation, though. He's got 0.7 of a second on second place. Well, now he's stretched it to over a full second. And Helio Castroneves still has to get around Carpenter if he's going to close on Franchitti. And, of course, Carpenter has proven to be very tough to deal with.
You know, we saw a lot of rubbing going on wheel to wheel here tonight, but you got to think about it, only 60 feet wide this racetrack.
George Franchitti keeps track of his boy. Also saw Dario's wife Ashley in the pits earlier. Look at Herta, just that easy and around the number 5 car of Adrian Fernandez. And that gives him 6th. So Herta on the move as well. 159 laps complete. Franchitti leads. Dale Worsham, the defending funny car winner at the Sears Craftsman NHRA Nationals, going to try to regain the season points lead that he held for several races before handing it over to rival Whit Bazemore. All that coverage coming up when we're done here, and then again tomorrow. 3 hours of elimination coverage on ESPN2 at 9 o'clock Eastern. For more information, log on to ESPN.com. It's the Suntrust Indy Challenge, the IRL IndyCar Series. And Dario Franchitti leads. Tora Takagi just brought his car in and climbed out, so his day is done as well. He joins Al Unser Jr. and Alex Barron. Take a look at this. And that's Takagi that everybody's splitting around. And I'm sure part of the reason they decided, let's get this car off the track. So Franchitti now has just gone 101 laps without refuel, but a good portion of those laps were run under the yellow. 38 laps under yellow.
And if you can believe it, he just went around last year's winner, Scott Dixon. What a difference a year makes.
And he gets Kosuke Matsura as well. Dixon comes up inside of Matsura. So, Jack Harut, what do you think the game plan is for Franchitti?
Well, the game plan is running down to under 20 laps, guys. Dario Franchitti was just radioed that they've got approximately 21 laps to go before the Arca X car will have to come on to pit road. They needed way too much, way too many caution laps. They didn't get them, and they're going to have to take fuel around lap 192.
Yeah, but said another way, Jack, they didn't get them yet. And Thomas Scheckter just made a big move under Hornish and Kanaan and moves into third place. Wow, that's sweet.
Now with the fuel mileage these cars are getting now, Paul, one thing that you always look at is tire. And these tires from Firestone have been just terrific this year.
Watch this now. Watch Scheckter. Yellow car down low. Just dust them both off.
Yeah, momentum we talk about all the time. You get hung up, have to get off the throttle. With these new 3-liter engines, you don't have the horsepower or the torque to get you back out of the turn.
And Kanaan, of course, took advantage of that, and he came underneath Hornish as well. But now they're going to go side by side down the backstretch.
They're behind.
And Hornish comes back at Scheckter.
Look at the speed difference right in the middle of the turn and coming out.
There are two guys, though, that tend to run a similar line. Jamie Little?
Well, Thomas Scheckter's certainly on the move. And Doug, what is your guys' strategy? Are you going to come in any more before the end of the race?
Well, we're trying to stay in connection with the 3 and the 6 car. We got one more pit stop, then we're going to turn the Chevy power on. We're going to go win this race.
Is that what you're telling us?
Yeah. Well, we're just waiting for Thomas there. He seems happy with the car. Everything seems good, so we're ready to go.
Things have certainly turned around for the team, guys.
Yeah, and talk about that engine battle. Honda, Toyota, Chevrolet, 1, 2, and 3. Mark Taylor, other car out of that stable, started out in the second row, but his night went very poorly. Taylor's down now in 17th. There comes Hornish. This guy's unbelievable. He can put that car anywhere he wants it.
Car control, he just walks in a different step than everybody else. And when he's on, he's flying. You know, and I've always said if he's got a bad race weekend, Paul, it's about average with just about everybody else.
Kanaan tried to poke his nose in there and then thought better of it.
Blue 12, Thomas. Blue 12. We can go blue 12 the whole race.
You want to know how humid it is here? Look on the wing, sitting outboard there, right on the corner. Whoops. See up there in the corner? Just got a little low pressure contrail. Here comes Hornish again. Whoa! Let's come over here, dart over there, and I'm back around.
Coming up, looking. Clear.
Franchitti still the leader, 116 laps since his stop. Target fastest lap of the day. Thomas Scheckter at 165 miles an hour. Well, that pretty much ended that one for Hornick. The question will also be Scheckter. Did he sustain any damage? Just about to tell you, Scheckter had the fastest lap of the day thus far. And
Are you okay there? Can you keep running or not? Hope feels fine.
Actually, all those wheels are going the right direction there, Paul. I would say that a bump start, go in the pits, have a look at the car.
Get it going if you can.
And he might just be ready to go off and continue racing.
yeah, well, and remember at Phoenix, he had not a similar incident, but it ended up sliding up against the wall, but they got it back into action. Well, Penske team also here virtually totally rebuilt a car for Helio Castroneves that made a major difference in the championship points fight by the time the season was over. But I think it's interesting that this guy, Sam Hornish, drove that yellow car that Scheckter is wheeling around now.
Yeah, interesting feat. And you remember just last week at Texas when he brushed the wall, he said, our guys build their own suspension back at Penske Racing, so I feel confident to keep out there. If they tell me it's safe, I'm going to drive it.
They've got a large operation over in Poole, England. Used to build the Penske cars. Look at this.
Yeah, you know, it looks like Sam is just coming down on him. He comes in the high line, comes down to the center of the turn by the apex. And when you watch the replays, watch the white lines on the racetrack. And it looks like Scheckter just keeps on his low line. Yeah, and Hornish is coming down on him. Now they're side by side. Just two guys
Watch
going
this, though. Except for this light tap at the end. Well, not so light, I guess. But it's amazing he kept it off the outside wall.
Here we go. You know, both of them going for the same amount of real estate right in the middle of the turn. Boy, they might even call that a 50-50 deal. Unfortunately, Sam's sitting there when these guys are going by, and he's just losing laps underneath this yellow right now.
Yeah, Roger Penske, I'm sure, wants them to get that car rolling as fast as they can. He's already seen the field come by once. Now the Delphi safety team.
Yeah. See, the rope is actually releasing, and Sam's trying to hold on to the rope to get a push start. And actually, Sam's heart rate's probably just a little high right now.
This is costly, very costly for them.
Now, there is a bar that goes in behind the driver's head, which is basically a tow hook, which allows them to actually...
Leader on the pit road. Leader on the pit road, Dario Franchitti. 121 laps he took the car. Helio Castroneves comes in. So does Tony Kanaan, Felipe Giafoni, Adrian Fernandez, Brian Herta, Jack Arute.
They are only going to keep the fuel nozzle filled as long as it takes to fill the tires. They've changed the tires. Premier is off and away, but only second off the pit road.
Ooh, tight squeeze coming out. Scheckter, Kanaan, Felipe. And so taking advantage of that yellow, just that quickly, they leaders, Franchitti in particular, right into the pits. So the question now is, what about Hornish? Can he get back into the game? Probably not. 4 laps behind the race right now with that maneuvering, trying to get the car rolling once again. So it sets up for an interesting ending. Wife Ashley on the right. Sam Hornish due into the pits, but his day effectively ended when they couldn't get, well, with the spin, but certainly when they couldn't get the rope hooked up in a manner that they get the car going forward. And I think that's why you saw some agitation from Roger. Here comes Hornish, though. Roger's...
Okay. How about we look the car over too? Okay.
Jerry Punch.
4 tires and 1 turn of front wing. Those are the commands from Roger Penske.
No front wing.
1 turn of front wing. Now no turn. You heard him say no front wing. Sam Hornish down and away, and Sam was pleading to try to get the car pulled quick enough to get it restarted to get back on the pit road. They were begging him to get the crew to get the car back down here. Now he is pitted and back on the track.
We want to turn up, guys?
All right, so for the Penske team, though, at least with this car, or with the car of Sam Hornish, it's 4 laps behind the field. Their hopes now seemingly rest with Elio Castroneves, who sits in 5th place. Dan Weldon picks the lead up on the racetrack onto the caution. Back at Richmond International Raceway, guys coming out of the pits. You saw Castroneves coming out. Franchitti. And there's Schechter, Kanaan, and Felipe Giafoni. The field is set up now with Weldon out in front. Don't forget Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN. Coverage begins with the day's Major League highlights on Baseball Tonight, driven by GMC at 7 o'clock Eastern. And then, of course, it's the Yankees v. the Mets. Coverage also in Spanish and on ESPN HD. Pace car, Johnny Rutherford at the wheel, already begins to accelerate. 1 lap to go. Look at this as everybody came around to miss Hornish. From Herta's view. Oh, baby. So now another run down the backstretch, and on the 201st lap, we'll go back to competition. 250 laps, the scheduled distance.
Key thing right now is get a clean start. We got to get a clean race right to the end. We talked about having nothing bent on the car. As we come up to the green flag right now, these guys need a clean race and get ready for those last 20 laps, which will be a sprint.
And this is a big chance for Dan Weldon. Mira occupies 2nd place. Rice is 3rd. This all owing to fuel strategy in the pit stop. Castroneves is back there coming alongside of Rice now, battling for 3rd. Castroneves has 3rd.
We got 2 more now. 2 more and 50 laps.
That blue number 13 is Ray. Wow, Buddy cuts hard into him but gets past. Now Franchitti trying to come up and chase that group with Tony Kanaan right behind him. But once again, the power of Andretti Green Racing is showing with cars in 1st. And then back in 5th and 6th and 7th. 3 of them right together. Franchitti, Kanaan, and Herta. But the Klein Tools car, Dan Weldon at the wheel. Don't forget his short track prowess displayed in Japan.
Now this will be very interesting to see if they feel they're going to have enough fuel to make it to the end. 75 laps, obviously quite a few of those laps were run under caution. The only guys that know for sure, Paul, right now are the engineers that are looking at the telemetry in the pit box of an Andretti Green Racing.
I remember last week at Texas, I think it was Jack that showed us a lot of the teams have some prediction software that can try and tell you when theoretically you're going to get a caution. I know that Andretti Green is one of those, so maybe they just want to keep him on point, show the team well, or maybe they've looked at that prediction software. Jack Arute, what's Michael saying?
Well, Michael Andretti has been back and forth between his teams, and they have been making some great calls. Michael, for Dan Weldon, can he go the distance, or will you have to come in again?
I hope so.
I don't think you have to say much more than that. They've got their fingers crossed, their legs crossed, and they have given Weldon the go-to signal.
Well, 2 great stories at the front with Weldon looking for his 2nd win, his first scored earlier this year, and right behind him, Vitor Mira, who is a race-to-race driver for the Ray Hall Letterman team. But just an astoundingly quick driver. He's showing that at Texas Speedway. And, of course, like so many of them, an accomplished triathlete, which is important here just because of the fact that you need so much physical prowess to be able to do this. Hornish all over the place. Race record is 99.124 miles an hour. That's sweet. Right now they're averaging over 115 miles an hour, so the race record in serious jeopardy. Here comes Sam again. Oh, I'll go here. No, that one isn't going to work. What do I do now? Maybe I'll go high again.
Took the high line coming off last time and sliced behind Herta to get the draft, and he tried the inside line. Now he's going to have to sit back and take a reapproach.
Yeah, but if he's trying to just rattle Herta, that ain't going to happen. Herta's very steady.
You can hear how hard Herta drives it into the turn, Paul. Not off the gas until he's in the very middle of the turn, right down by the apex.
Back up the track there is Adrian Fernandez.
As we ride, though, watch how better Herta is in turns 1 and 2 than he is in 3 and 4. Sam gets a better run on him in 3 and 4, although it's not for position. Just interested to see how the cars work differently.
Well, we're watching that, too. Rice and Franchitti have been going back and forth.
On your inside.
Hornish tries the inside again. Herta gives him plenty of room.
Now, with 2 different types of turns at both ends of this racetrack, it's a compromise when you set the race car up. It cannot be perfect at both ends.
Just ahead of them, Franchitti and Kanaan have been battling. While at the front of the field, it's still Dan Weldon, Vitor Meira, and Elio Castroneves. 1, 2, 3, covered by a half of a second. Moving to the closing stages of the Suntrust Indy Challenge. Back at Richmond International Raceway, the caution lights just come on again. This time it's Dario Franchitti and Mark Taylor. Taylor was 4 laps behind the race. Franchitti trying to catch up to the front. He was in a pretty good battle up at the front of the field. Rice, Kanaan, Herta, Franchitti all together. And now Franchitti frustrated as Thomas Schechter's car, they're pulling the...
Yeah, the left front wheel, Paul, is definitely been hit in that accident. You can see how damaged it is as he's getting out of the car.
Jack Arute.
Well, as we watch Thomas Schechter get out of his Pennzoil Panther car, Dario Franchitti on the radio immediately after the caution came out, reporting to his crew, no damage, no damage. Very similar situation, though, to what occurred with Sam Hornish, wanting desperately to get bump started yet again as he's stranded down there. Now they're trying to push him back to the inside of the racetrack to get him started. This is going to be costly for Franchitti, who reports he's got no damage at all in the ARCA X car.
Yeah, but not pushing him fast enough to get him started.
Well, I think really what they're trying to do is just get him behind the service vehicle. Here we go right now. See, it's the right front, left rear touching, as we've seen before. And when a car's not working well, like Taylor had as he hit the safer barrier there on the high side, you come in high and you try to get down to that low section by the yellow line, down by the apex, when your car is not working. You can see the safer barrier actually there, that corrugated foam actually take the hit there.
And it looked like what happened to Schechter is he got up into Fernandez after he came through the accident site.
Diving down and just taking up too much room there. His spotter's got to be telling him that there's more people behind.
Here's Schechter. Accident occurs up ahead.
Yep. And he just...
Yeah. So it's kind of hard to believe that Fernandez's car is in good shape. From Herta. Whoa, baby.
Man, that's called threading the needle, I think.
So I'm wondering where his eyes opened during that. That's what I wonder.
Now you see...
So Schechter out of the car, damage. You saw the contact with Fernandez. Franchitti trying to get it going. Mark Taylor, well, he's got serious damage. We'll be back.
Welcome back to Richmond, Virginia. I'm with Thomas Schechter, who's having a great drive tonight. Great race for Panther Racing. What happened out there?
Well, he just got caught in a yellow, and two cars touched each other, and I was on the brakes and hit someone. Another unfortunate result. I have to thank Pennzoil and Chevrolet. They really needed a good result, and we looked like we had the car to do it, but, you know, we'll come back next race.
Real quick, take us back to what happened with you and Hornish.
We were going side by, we're having a great race, going side by side, inside, outside, and we were passing each other. And then I think one of the times he went around the outside, I thought I was right down on the yellow line. We touched. That's what happens when you race that close, you know, a little bit of rubbing.
All right. Tough break for Panther Racing, losing 2 cars on 1 lap. And Doc Punch?
Well, down in Vitor Mira's pit, it was going to be very close on the fuel here, but now with this yellow, Ray Lito, he's the chief engineer. He has told Vitor Mira, you've got all the fuel you need. Go full rich, fuel position number 1, and go get him. It's a 20-lap sprint race. You got all the gas, all the fuel you're going to need here for the final 20 laps.
Oh, wow. Think about that now. Weldon has carried his car 101 laps. Vitor Mira 95 laps since the last stop. And if they're telling Mira he can go full rich, what else could they possibly tell Weldon?
Well, Paul, let me tell you what they just told Weldon. They've done all the calculations over here, and this is a 250-lap race. The calculations have come out as follows. They can do 250.1 laps. It is going to be that close. Now, these cautions are helping it get closer to that 250 mark, maybe move them to 251, so maybe Danny Weldon can breathe a little bit.
Right now at the front of the field, it's Honda, Toyota. The highest place Chevrolet at the moment is Ed Carpenter in 8th place. Toyota has led for 113 laps and Honda for 118 laps. So it'll be an interesting fight. And you know that Elio Castroneves sitting back there in 3rd. Penske guys are plotting something there as well.
Interesting to watch a track like this, Paul. So small. It's not about horsepower. It's about handling with the car, and that's why we've seen such a competitive edge with Toyota and Chevrolet going against the Hondas.
Green flag.
Good restart for Weldon. Mira keeps about the same pacing. Castroneves has to get around Scott Sharp to get in touch with the leaders. Now Buddy Rice coming up inside of Castroneves. They're going to go 3 wide. Now they back out of it. They're both trying to get around Sharp.
Still inside. Inside.
Whoa! Castroneves grabs the inside and gets around. Buddy Rice now coming up on Sharp. He's got Hornick pushing him from behind. There goes Rice. And here comes Kanaan, who moves up on Herta. Herta goes down for the inside line. Hornick gets around Sharp. Now Herta gets him. Back at the front, Weldon and Mira.
We talked about that 20 laps at the end for a sprint race. These guys have done a great job surviving to the end. Now what Mira's going to hope for is that they're going to catch up to traffic here in a few more laps, and that he might be able to take the opportunity in traffic on a miscue from Weldon to maybe take advantage of that and make his move.
Scott Sharp has been the one that everybody tries to get around. You're back riding with him now, and here's the Firestone telemetry. Back up to the front of the field then. Weldon, Mira, Castroneves. There's Weldon and Mira. Track here seats 107,000. They had advanced sales of a little over 40,000. And they say that every year they're getting about a 10% bump as the Richmond market comes out to find out what the IRL is all about.
Compared to the Cup cars that we were talking about, you think about this, 40 miles an hour faster.
242 laps complete, 8 to go.
As you know, Paul, everywhere we go, there's a 2-seater car that goes on the track beforehand, takes people for rides. I'd love to be able to put all these fans in a 2-seater and take them for a ride around here.
You know, you take the fans, you're not taking me. I've seen you drive.
Thank
you.
So
Castroneves now closes in. He's got Mira in his sights now that he's clear of all other traffic. But at the same time, very shortly the leaders will come up on slower traffic.
Yep.
Oh! They both got high if whether or not we're going yellow. Not yet. Not yet.
Now the problem is that he's on the high side. All these guys need to know where he's at because they're going to come out and get very close like this.
Oh, what a dangerous position. Ed Carpenter, and there they go yellow. They go yellow with 4 laps to go.
I was almost about to say he lost his drive, but I think he just got stuck up there and didn't know what to do with it.
So Ed Carpenter looks like he's going to be able to bring it on around. This is what happened. Carpenter in the middle there.
Yeah, I'm not.
Touches with the left front of Greg Ray. And that slows both of them.
Yeah, one can only believe that he's probably got a right rear flat on Carpenter's car.
Well, Carpenter's made it back to the pits. Michael Andretti says, well, that's going to help for Dan Weldon quite a bit. It'll help a great deal if they take it yellow all the way to the finish, but I don't think that's likely. They're saying 1 more lap to go back to the green.
Don't you know Dan Weldon hates this as a race car driver, Paul? You know that anything can happen on a restart.
Well, he's got the worst of all scenarios. He's got very fast Mira right behind him, and then he has 2 Penske cars breathing all over Mira. Castroneves in the fight. Sam Hornick's there to help if it's needed.
Your pace, Dan, your pace.
His
Weldon Mira.
Got to get on the throttle, got to carry speed, coming on at 3 and 4.
Green flag.
Green and white flag come out at the same time. Castroneves closes up on Mira. Mira tries the low line.
Mira played it smart, tried to make him go around the high side, but he's carrying the speed.
The yellow light was still flashing as they came through turn 1. Now they have it off. Weldon holds on. Castroneves around Mira. And Dan Weldon takes the win. 2nd of the season.
Yeah, baby!
4th win for Andretti Green Racing.
Good on you, Dan. Way to help me.
I'm not.
Excellent job, buddy. Andretti Green.
I'm really not sure, though, what happened there, because when we looked down to turn 1 after they took the flag, the yellow was still flashing. The light was, even though the green had been given. And you wonder if Mira saw that and backed out of it. And that's when Castroneves got him, or whether or not it was a valid racing pass.
Well, you go when the green flag goes, and a bad situation if that certainly happens. But here comes a celebration.
Two little smoky donuts for Dan Weldon. The Klein Tools Jim Beam car, and Honda has taken the win at Richmond. Toyota sits in 2nd place. And then Honda, and Honda finish out the top 5. Jerry Punch.
Well, we caught up down here with Michael Andretti, who just was jumping over and celebrating. And Michael, congratulations, 4 wins out of the 6 races for Andretti Green Racing. What an effort tonight.
It was a great effort, you know. I mean, a bit of a surprise, to be honest with you. I didn't think we'd be in this position, but, you know, we were able to get track position with the call that Tony Kottman made, and Dan did the rest. You know, he did a great job with the Jim Beam Climb Tool car, and then to have all the Hondas up there again, you know, which was great. So it was a good weekend.
Tony did a great job on that fuel call. I mean, it was very close from what we were seeing over your shoulder with the calculation.
Yeah, I mean, it was on fumes, I can assure you.
Hey, congratulations. Go celebrate.
All right, thanks.
Michael Andretti will head to victory lane, and Danny Weldon goes to victory lane for the 2nd time this year. 4 wins for Andretti Green in 6 stops on the IRL IndyCar Series.
Well, back at Richmond International Raceway, Dan Weldon has scored his 2nd win of this season, and the celebration underway. Lots of fireworks. Jack Arute.
And there were a lot of fireworks here in Victory Lane, as well as Dan Weldon decided to rev the engine, that Honda engine, when you came in here into Victory Lane. And I got to ask you, they radioed to you, Danny, to do some donuts at the end of the race. Those are pretty wimpy donuts. Why?
I didn't know how to do the donuts, so I had to check. Like I didn't do it. Hey, I didn't do it at Motegi, and So I wanted to do it. Tony did them for me, but awesome job by Andretti Green Racing. You know, the Firestone stuck. I was on those set for a long time, and you see that I try to blow up that Honda as much as I can, and it doesn't go, but it gave me a lot of power, so that's awesome.
I think we want to go back to early in the race when Tony Kottman, your team tactician, made a call for you to come down on the pit road to kind of short pit, go for fuel mileage. You made good mileage when your teammate Dario Franchitti had to pit. Lo and behold, it was the Jim Beam Klein tool car out front. How close was it?
Oh, well, knowing the brother. We don't call him Tony Kottman, we call him the brother. And both him and his fiancée, Carol Wilkins, are crazy people. And you never know with him, but I always trust him. And same with Eddie Jones. They did a very good job for me, but he can work some strategy. I thought, obviously, Roger Penske was good, but the brother's really good.
Yeah, but when the brother makes those calls and you're strapped in the cockpit, do you ever question it?
You know, when I first worked with him, I was like, this guy's crazy. But look at him. He pulls it off today. So I have to give Tony Kottman, the brother, and Eddie Jones a lot of credit for this. But, you know, the Klein Tool Jim Beam car is always strong. Even when we qualify bad, there's a reason for it, and we just keep working. So my boys in the pits as well.
I tell you what, guys, we keep learning nicknames. Now we got Tony Kottman's nickname. It's the brother. And I'll tell you what, we're going to rename him Danny with the Jets. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Guys.
Well, that does a lot for Weldon in the points fight. He's now just 17 behind. He picked up 18 major point positions coming forward in that, so it moves him to second. Castroneves sits in third, and Buddy Rice sits down in fourth, followed by Scott Dixon. With Elio Castroneves, second place finisher. Here's Jerry Punch.
Elio, what a finisher. Take us through what happened on that final restart with you running up on Vitor.
Well, I knew there was only one lap, and I went for it. Actually, 5 laps to go. I was already going laps like 16-0, and I was like, damn, I'm going for it, you know. But, and then 1 lap short for the victory. They did a hell of a job. My team awesome, but, man, I was extremely happy about it. But I was so overconfident and that I knew that I could make the pass in both guys. It was just a matter of time, but those guys gambled, they did a hell of a job.
There was some question as to whether a yellow light they may have still been on in turn 1. Did you see that at all in the restart?
No, not at all. Definitely when they said it's going to go green, they put the pace car pull out. I knew it was going to go green, you know. So it's one of those things that I was so focused that I didn't see anything. I just went for it.
Hey, tough night for your teammate Sam Hornets, but you made up for it with a great effort on that final lap. Congratulations on a runner-up finish.
Thank you. Let's keep working hard. It ain't over.
Elio Castroneves says it ain't over, and it is indeed. It is not, as we head to Kansas next week, guys.
So at Richmond International, we've still got more to come. Vitor Meira to talk to, but Dan Weldon celebrates as the winner in the Suntrust Indy Challenge. We'll be back right after this.
And back at Richmond International Raceway, Vitor Meira equals its career best finish of third, which you had on the finale at Texas back in 2002. And Vitor, great night for you and Team Suntrust. Now take us through this restart. The white flag waves and the green, and then what happened?
Well, first I want to congratulate the whole crew. We always had the third place car or first place car also, but they put us up there with their strategy. What happened on the last 2 laps was that I saw the white and green. I knew it was coming, warm up the tires and everything. But something happened that right after they dropped the green flag, the yellow lights kept going. What I thought was something on the restart happened. Everybody cold tires, last lap, so something even before. What I thought was that something before the start with people warming up tires and everything happened back then, so they kept the yellow lights. That's what I thought. I think that didn't happen. It was only kind of a misunderstanding, but that costed me the second place, which is, I mean, it's a good run anyway. I mean, thanks to Suntrust and Team Ray Hall Letterman to give me the opportunity to be here tonight.
A great run for this effort, and Vitor Meira finishing third here, even though he had a little bit of a miscue on that restart. Let's check in with Jack.
And Jerry, the man that holds on to the points lead by 17 points, the 7-11 Slurpee King, Tony Kanaan. Good run for you today.
Yeah, it was a busy race. Happy for Dan No, he looked so bad in qualifying. He was so down yesterday, and they gamble. It worked perfect for him, and one more win for the team, and we get to keep the championship lead. So first,
did you ever drive as hard since you came out of go-karts?
Not really, and I mean, I'm exhausted, so I just want to go home, and I need to wait for Dan. He's flying back home with me in the plane, so he's going to delay my plans right now.
Well, you hate when that happens, guys. Let's check in with Jamie Little.
Traffic a little bit. Like Kyle Moyer's strategy got me out front, and we managed to take off and put some distance between us and the guys behind. We came in the pits. The yellow came out right at the right time for us. We came in the pits, went back out, and we're pretty happy. Everything was going well. I think we're 4th or 5th, and I was right on Buddy's gearbox and went in behind him into turn 1, and Mark Taylor went on the high line, let Buddy through, and came right down in front across of me and took my nose off. So yeah, again, he crashes out of a race and takes me out. So it's further proof that he probably shouldn't be there.
Tough break for Dario Franchitti once again, guys.
Tonight's IRL coverage has been brought to you by Suntrust. How can Suntrust help you? And McDonald's.
Well, I'm with a very frustrated Ed Carpenter once again. Didn't get the finish that you wanted, obviously. Things were looking good. You guys were on the lead lap, but then what happened out there?
Oh, we just can't buy a break. I mean, I'm so proud of my team. We're doing everything right and just can't finish races. All we want to do is finish races, and something always happens. But today, I mean, we were running on the lead lap, 8th place. I mean, sitting good for a top 10, and I think Dixon was inside of me, and we were both lapping Greg Ray, and he's 5 or 6 laps down and decides to try to race us 3 wide into the corner. It's just, we're at Richmond. I mean, he's driven this way since IRL started, and he continues to do it. I mean, he's a nice guy. He just drives really stupid in a race car.
Well, we'll see you next weekend. Let him cool down, guys.
Well, so at least we got a little controversy going here. Dario Franchitti not happy with Mark Taylor, and now you hear that Ed Carpenter is not happy with Craig Ray. So we'll take a look at the unofficial order of finish, though likely this will become the official order of finish pretty quickly here. And Dan Weldon has notched his 2nd victory.
You know, pretty impressive run, and everybody always knows that this is going to be really what they call the bump and grind racetrack, you know, but I'm looking forward to next week now because we go back to a super speedway, and I got to think that a lot of these guys are going to turn around and want to be a little bit of revengeful.
Don't you like to see that, though, when they show some of the emotion that they put into these runs here and how hard, especially here, they work. Well, next week, join us for the Argent Mortgage Indy 300. Kansas Speedway. That's on Sunday, July 4th. The coverage will come on ABC Sports at 12:30 Eastern Time. Coming up next, of course, is NHRA Powerade Drag Racing. So an interesting night. A lot of rubbing, a lot of fighting, and Dan Weldon comes home with a nice tactical move as the winner of the race. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPN.com and join us next week.